What was the thing you found the most fun in training?
So in my basic training, I really, really enjoyed the soldiering aspect, because even though I knew I was joining the RAF, which is a very different organisation to the army, I also wanted to learn those skills as well. So the force protection element and the green phase, as we call it, to me was really fascinating, really interesting and really challenging. But aside from that, I think the best thing about training for most people I speak to, and especially this is what I explain to people going through the candidate journey in recruitment, is the people that you get to meet from all over the country and from all walks of life. I think it does open your eyes to how, other people's backgrounds and where they've come from to get to that place. But ultimately, you're all the same in training. Okay, how many years have you served, and what or who inspired you to join the RAF?
I have been in the RAF for 15 years now. I was attracted to the RAF because of the potential opportunity for travel and the career opportunity. So starting on an immediate ladder, if you like, of career progression was really attractive to me. In terms of being inspired, my grandfather was in the Royal Air Force, and I have a number of cousins who are also, were also serving in the Royal Air Force. So almost a family tradition to continue.
So I've been in 22 years now, so I'm getting on a bit. The reason I joined was similar to you. My grandfather was very briefly in the Air Force. He wasn't in for very long, but also I think what stood out for me, aside from the other services, was one, the uniform. I do think it's the best. And
brilliant answer.
And two, it was the opportunity for the other things, the lifestyle that came with the Air Force. So the adventure training and the sport, which has always played a huge part in my life. So long may that continue. And that was my inspiration.
How have you both found the strength and support to get you to where you are today alongside your diagnosis?
So it's a good question. I have been really supported by obviously my family since I got diagnosed, but also the Air Force has supported me along the way as well. When you think about where do you get the strength from, I think that's a really individual question to answer. I myself had really, really panicked when I first got diagnosed about my career and how it would play a part of what was left of my career, or even if I still had a career. So that for me was the biggest part of the diagnosis. Once I'd approached that and faced it and been to the relevant agencies. So I was based at, it was actually an army unit when I got diagnosed, but they were really good. I went to a medical board while I was serving at Brize Norton about 18 months after my diagnosis. And that really was the start of me being comfortable and completely satisfied that I still had a career. I could still deploy overseas, which was very important to me too. And I could still play my part as good as the next person in a blue uniform. So support-wise, the support is on units, but also something that Sarah and I are both really involved in and have been from the start was the Candid Network, Chronic Conditions and Disability in Defence, which is coming up to 2 years young. And that came out of the brainchild of a very, very inspirational female major in the army who set up quite a bespoke executive committee of people like Sarah and I who were passionate about ensuring that the support in order to get that service person the strength to question and go forward with their careers despite having an illness or disability. That's now where my strength comes from. My strength comes from helping others and ensuring that there is a fair and just system.
So I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis while I was on IOT. So I joined the Royal Air Force, I was fit, I was healthy, and I get this blow. during initial officer training. So I'm at Cranwell, and it was a complete shock. And much like Georgie's reaction, my only real question was, do I still have a career? How will this impact on my job? Will I be medically discharged? And with the support of certain people in the Royal Air Force, at Cranwell and across the Royal Air Force, I managed to stay in, and I've managed to, since then, continue to have a full and rewarding career. Thankfully, 15 years later, I'm still going strong. And whilst it has had some impact on my career, there are certain things that I can't do, I've still, in my mind, I've still had a really rewarding and satisfying career. In the battle of logistics versus personnel, who would win the award for the best branch and why? So logistics would definitely win this fight. From the branch perspective, you can specialise in various streams. I specialised with movements. So because I've got the movements tick, I've worked at Bryce Norton in really challenging and demanding roles. I've also travelled all over the world planning exercises, so spent a lot of time in the Far East, a lot of time in America. And they're just really satisfying roles. From the trade perspective, there are multiple trades within the logistics umbrella, so there's a huge amount of variety that you can choose from. We definitely win. Sorry, Georgie. What do you both enjoy most about your career in the Royal Air Force, and what has been some of your notable career highlights so far? I would probably choose A4 operations. A4 Ops is in the HQ at Air Command, and as part of my role, I was supporting the organisation of international air exercises. So within that role, I was the subject matter expert travelling all around the world to put together those exercises of a variety of aircraft. So I spent a lot of time in the Far East, in places like Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Singapore, but also all across Europe and North America, working with a great bunch of people, not just UK and not just RAF either. So working with the other services from the UK, but also with other organisations across the world, so other air forces and other defence organisations.
What would you say are your greatest achievements in the RAF so far? You know, I was a detention handler in Afghanistan, and there's not many women that would do that or were trained to do that. And that for me was just pre-diagnosis, actually. And I just felt on top of the world. I actually felt like I was doing my bit for Operation Herrick, and I was out there, not in my normal day job of personnel support. I was out there doing a little bit more of a hands-on job, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I have so many good memories, and I'm still in touch with most of the team that I was deployed out there with. Also, just some of the opportunities I've been given. Post-diagnosis, I got in touch with Battleback, which unfortunately no longer exists at the moment, but they took me away and started to deliver adventure training and activities, almost showing me what I can do with my illness rather than what I can't do. So I learnt to sit ski, and that led to me really getting involved with other organisations externally to the RAF, which allowed me in 2019 to captain the UK team at the Warrior Games. So that was a huge achievement. I was the first female captain. Beyonce came into mind then. So yeah, I've had, there's too many to mention really. It's just been an amazing career, and I wouldn't change it for the world. What's it like being a female in the RAF?
You know, I don't think being female in the RAF is particularly relevant. So in my job, I am a logistics officer, and I go in, I do my job, and I expect other people to do theirs. It's not about whether you're male or female, it's about whether you are logistics, personnel, aircrew, etc., etc. Everybody's got their own specialisation, and actually being male or female is not relevant to that. As we've mentioned previously, every role in the Royal Air Force now is open to both male and female candidates, so it's not relevant. What I would say is relevant is the policies that are in place to support women. So I've had a baby within the last 12 months and was really supported through that. So I received 6 months full pay. I could have had up to 12 months off, but actually I split that time with my husband. And we were appropriately supported. So I think where it is relevant, there are mechanisms in place to ensure that women can continue their careers if they want to. Obviously, I could have left, but I wish to continue my career in the Royal Air Force, and I'm really pleased to be able to do that.
Completely agree with everything you said. You know, from a recruitment perspective, there is absolutely no difference. A female can do every job that's on our list of jobs available. So I think over the years it has absolutely changed and increased for the better. What are your future aspirations in the RAF and why? I always wanted to get to the rank of sergeant, and I've done that. And I'm ready now for a new challenge, and whether that's the next rank up, flight sergeant, or commission as a junior officer, that's like yourself. I know I want to be in the RAF. The RAF has given me so much. Why would I want to leave? So aside from the promotion and the career progression, my other aspirations are to make sure that, along with Candid, that continues and keeps rolling along at a good pace. But also I'm now the vice chair for the Air Disability Network as well. So I'm very, very passionate about that space, and I want to continue that work for as long as I can.